UMAR AHMED IFLTV MTK Global in CHELYABINSK.
Good job.
Russia.
Very good job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man.
Safe journey home.
Same to you.
Joined by Frank Warren. Well, just sum it up for me.
It was a bit of everything, wasn't it? As I said before the fight, it was, can he make him an old man, or is he going to old man him out of it? And it was a bit of both. He made him an old man. The 8th round, I really did think he was seconds away from victory. And he put so much effort and, tremendous effort into that, exerting himself beyond any measure, and it just didn't happen. And Kovalev is champion, about his 15th defence, is it, or something like that, whatever it is. He's a very, very experienced man, and he used his experience and got through the fight. We was at the last round where we were going to pull him out or not, but anyway, that didn't happen, and unfortunately he got caught and the tiredness set in. But he's certainly done himself and done Britain proud. There's no doubt about it. He was that close, and it's one of those things where he was a mandatory. Do you take it yet? Do you give him a couple of more fights? And it was sort of a bit of both, really, wasn't it? Because it nearly happened. It nearly happened, but it didn't quite.
I thought he was going to stop in the 8th, to be honest.
Well, he was
so
all over
close.
the place when he was sucking up, and maybe that's saying what we were saying about working that body, getting him to drop his jab. He didn't really get into that until that round, and when he got into it, it was hurting. Maybe if he'd done that a bit earlier, it might have been a different thing. But I'm very proud of him, and he certainly will come again. He will certainly come again.
Last night at dinner, you spoke about the fact that Anthony needs to get under Crusher's jab.
Which is what he did in the 8th round.
Yeah, he did in the 8th round, but sort of towards the beginning of the fight and the end, Kovalev was landing that jab quite a lot.
Well, that's his effective tool. A jab is a fighter's best weapon is a jab. Every good punch comes off a jab, and he had to negate that. And the only way to do that, you get inside, and if you're inside, then you throw the shots to the body and slow him down. And eventually, it did get to that, but. He's a class act, Kovalev, and he had to suck up tonight. If that fight had been in England, maybe he would not have. The fact it was here in his front with all his fans and so forth, that spurred him on a bit and lifted him a bit. When he was looking on the edge of being stopped. That's the thing about having a home advantage sometimes. That's why I bang on about home advantage. But I did have a feeling in me that Anthony was capable of doing it. I did look at quite a lot of Kovalev over the last 18 months and what I see of him, and I really just felt that it was there to be done, and he just that little bit of experience didn't would have got him over the line tonight.
Frank, do you know what the scorecards were at the stoppage?
No, I don't. Do you got them?
No, I don't.
No, I didn't get a chance, to be quite honest, because there's been a lot of the tumult in the ring after us. But you've got to take your hat off to him, and he will come again. He's not like he's he'll learn from that. It was a heart good pace. Certainly, the sort of after the first couple of rounds, it fought at quite a fast pace. And as I say, to be in the other guy's backyard, it says a lot about his character, and it tells you a lot about Anthony Yarde.
No one can say that he doesn't belong at this level. He truly showed that tonight. And as you said, he was mandatory challenger.
Yeah.
But do you think a couple of fights just above the level he was fighting at, in between the opponents, and Kovalev would have done
you may be right. I mean, you can speculate about it as much as you like, but the bottom line of all of it was that he'd only had. I keep talking about the amount of fights he had as an amateur and as a pro. You have to work your way through it. If he'd have got stopped in the 8th round, we'd have all been geniuses.
True.
You know what I mean? That's how it was, and it was that far away from being, weren't that far away from being stopped. And that's the sport you're in, and sometimes you just have to think, do you want to... We held that mandatory up. He's in that number 1 position for about 18 months. We could have done it then, and I didn't want it to happen then. And we looked and thought about it, and after his last fight, and that was it. He wanted it. It's his choice. My choice to go with him, because I believe in him, and he nearly pulled it off. It's one of the bravest performances I've seen from a British fighter abroad.
I know it's difficult to say now, but what do you think the next 6 to 12 months sort of entail for Anthony?
It's not back to the drawing board. I mean, he's at a level, and we've got to get him back in. So we have a couple of fights, and he deserves to be, as you mentioned yourself, he deserves to be at that level, and he'll learn from that fight. It's got a lot of things to learn still. Head movement. He was getting caught with a jab, all those sort of things. He's got, he'll learn from them. If he doesn't learn from them, then it's a problem. But he's a smart guy, Anthony, and Sunday's done a great job of him, and that's what they'll do now. He has to look at the fight, study it, rest up a bit, and then we're getting back on the road again.
Tell you what though, he's got a hell of a left hook, Anthony.
Well, he has, and he was hurting him. He was killing him underneath. He was killing him to that body. I mean, that for me was the key to winning that fight, was getting underneath and throwing the body shots. And you know, he eventually started throwing those shots, but you know, it is what it is. You can't change it. You can look at it all day long and think what you could have done different, but you deal with the reality of the situation. What's got to happen now is he's got to come back strong and learn from it.
All right, Frank, it's been a good week in Russia. We were so close to bringing that title back.
So close, but so far. And what a performance that would have been. If that 8th round, what that would have been. That would have been something else. That would have been.
All right, thank you for talking to IFL
Cheers,
TV, and we'll see you back in London, all right?
Thank you, mate. Good stuff.